You're not losing gunfights because of aim, you're losing them because of movement. If you fix these 5 mechanics, you're gonna start outgunning anyone. What's going on, everyone? My name is Alyus. I've been a full-time Call of Duty coach for the last 4 years, and if you're interested in coaching, check it out in the description below. The first mechanic you need to fix is your strafing. Everyone knows to activate rotational aim assist, you need to move this left stick, and then you'll get aim assist. Now, that being said, one of the biggest mistakes I see people do is they strafe to the left, and then when they go back to the opposite direction, they actually let their left stick go back to the default position. Every time you let this left stick go back to the default position, you lose aim assist. So in majority of your gunfights, when you're strafing one direction and you want to go the opposite direction, you should go in a half circle. And you could go in either direction. You can go upwards or you can go downwards, but the whole point is you want to use this to be your strafe. Now, another way to strafe is moving your left stick in a full circle, and once again, if it doesn't go back to that default position, you have aim assist the entire gunfight. Now, when you move your left stick in a circle, the slower you do it, the wider your strafe is. But the faster you move your left stick in a circle, the shorter your strafe is. Some players like Celium move their left stick in a fast circle to help them win long-range gunfights, but have a little bit of a strafe. That being said, strafing in one direction or the other is still good. The whole point is just don't let this left stick go back to the default position. Now, the second mechanic that's going to help you win more gunfights is abusing Peeker's Advantage. Peeker's Advantage is a mechanic used in several online FPS shooters such as CSGO, Valorant, and Call of Duty, where the first person challenging out of cover will see the enemy first. Now, this happens because of network latency, server processing, and visual rendering delays, but the whole point is if you're challenging out of cover first, usually you'll get first shot and kill the enemy first. So you want to practice shouldering. You want to practice pre-firing angles when you're shouldering. You also want to practice sliding out of cover and then shooting the enemy. There will also be moments in your gameplay where you have an opportunity to break the line of sight and then re-challenge the enemy, and just because you're challenging out of cover, you will see them first, therefore kill them. Now, there are a few ways to counter Peeker's Advantage, such as when the enemy challenges out, you can get behind cover and then re-challenge using Peeker's Advantage yourself, or you could also pre-fire the angle if you expect the enemy to re-challenge. Even if you are the enemy re-challenging, you still also want to pre-fire where you expect the enemy. Which this leads us into the third mechanic to start working on, and that's what I call centering like a hacker. What I mean by centering like a hacker is if you could predict where the enemy is sitting, you should already be aiming there. So when you challenge out, you could either pre-fire them or at least already be aiming on them and be able to kill them. Now, when you're rotating to the new hard point, usually there's only several spots the enemy can sit, so you can center like a hacker and clear out all of these angles. Now, the best way you're gonna abuse centering like a hacker is when you see the enemy, you break the line of sight by strafing behind cover or laying down behind cover, and then you aim at the enemy through the wall, so then when you stand back up or strafe back out, you're aiming exactly onto the enemy. And then, of course, you could pre-fire and ideally get first shot, have Peeker's Advantage, and get that kill. The next mechanic we're going to talk about is long slides, jumping into slides, and sliding into drop shots. You're mostly going to want to use these mechanics when you don't have any cover and you're stuck out in the open. The whole point of going for a long slide is when you first see the enemy and they start shooting you, you attempt to go for a slide and you rotate around the enemy while shooting them. This is where I would say usually you want to treat the enemy like the middle of a clock and try to rotate around them where you're shooting them in their side and you're shooting them in their back. You could also add in a jump and then add in the slide to give you a lot more momentum. But usually when you add in the jump, you're gonna have some shaky aim. And of course, you're gonna be a little bit of a stagnant target when you're out in the open. Now, sliding into a drop shot is one way to add some verticality with your gameplay. But I would normally recommend doing this when you have some type of cover you can lay down behind. I think this is a great mechanic for P3 on Skyline, where usually when you do the slide into a drop shot, you can end up behind the table or even the countertop. The fifth and final mechanic helps your movement, but it has a little bit more to do with aiming, and that is stutter aiming. What stutter aiming is out aiming and aiming back in during your gunfight or peeking at an angle, and the whole point of this is to make sure you have some movement and of course, resetting your aim assist. Now, just simply out aiming back in, when you go into that hip fire, you do gain some more movement, therefore you can add in a jump or a slide, but the important part is this allows you to utilize aim assist. When you start hip firing, you're going to get bullet magnetism, where a lot of your bullets are going to hit the target when they really shouldn't. When you aim back in, your iron sights will lock right onto the target. Now, there will be moments in Call of Duty where you end up losing aim assist, whether that be some railings or maybe the enemy's just in a weird doorway. But when you lose that aim assist, you want to stutter aim. Out aim, aim back in. Again, you can reset that aim assist, or when you out aim, you can strafe back behind cover, or you can add in a jump and then get behind cover. Now, a bonus tip with your movement is going to be two different things. The first thing, shoot bots. If you could just start shooting 500 bots every single day, applying everything we talked about, it's gonna pay off in the end. And now the next one is going to sound a little contradictory, but learn to let go. Learn to just flow on the map. Understand that you're not going to be perfect. There's going to be moments where you're pre-firing the enemy, you waste an entire 30 bullets, you may go for a hip fire and then you just end up getting slammed. It's gonna happen, but the important thing is letting go of that ego, making sure that you can raise the roof and start flowing through the map without playing rigid or really self-conscious with your gameplay. Because in moments like that, when you actually have a free kill where the enemy's right in front of you, you're gonna get way too nervous and you're gonna end up losing it when it matters most, right? So getting that all out of the way in public matches, getting that out of the way now in some basic ranked matches or even private matches against bots, that's what's most important. Create your own system to react and take gunfights. Like for me, whenever I need to cover distance, I always jump into a slide. So while I'm covering that distance, I can have my gun up ready to shoot and kill the enemies where I expect them to be. When I do get behind cover, I then tend to throw a lot of shoulders. I get very comfortable with that. And then most of the time I am sliding cover to cover and looking cover to cover. Eventually, you start creating systems for yourself to win these gunfights, such as, oh, in this certain fight, I need to slide into a drop shot. And then when the enemy, overextends, I can hopefully pre-fire and kill them. There's also going to be moments where you may get the enemy completely one shot. And at that point, you need to jump into a slide and pre-fire in that angle where they're at. I can create another video talking about certain gunfight scenarios, but that'll be for next time. Until then, understand that movement is literally 95% of your aim, and you don't need better aim, you need better movement. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please leave a like and a comment. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.